people of Chicago have officially turned their backs on Brandon Johnson and his $16 billion budget. Johnson's new plan taxes everything except for maybe air and water. But the aldermen, they are demanding answers. They want to see a full report from Ernst Young that the city paid $3.2 million and it has recommendations that apparently the mayor is ignoring. A public hearing is now being proposed, and the very aldermen who coalesced around this mayor are now openly challenging his leadership. The question now is simple. How much longer can the city tolerate this mayor? Do me a quick favor, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, turn your notification bell on. Let's get started.
Chicago City Council members are calling for an emergency meeting 1 week from today on the city's budget crisis.
At City Hall, the battle over Mayor Brandon Johnson's budget intensifies.
And today, a group of city council members accused the mayor of ignoring key recommendations from consultants they say cost taxpayers millions of dollars.
Investigation into your money. Taxpayers in Chicago forked over $3 million to a giant consulting firm to learn how the city could save some money. Well, now several aldermen are furious, saying that the mayor left out some key findings from that report in the budget.
That's right. The city of Chicago, at the behest of Mayor Brandon Johnson, paid consulting firm Ernst Young actually $3.2 million so that they could give recommendations on efficiencies and the way that the city could save money. Apparently, there are a whole host of recommendations of cost-cutting measures that are in this recommendation in this report from Ernst Young, and the mayor's office completely ignored them.
They say they want representatives from Ernst Young, a consulting firm, to testify about a report that the city paid them $3 million to come up with recommendations to help close the budget gap. They say the mayor's office has only released selected portions, but has kept the full report under wraps.
We think it's very important that they come before us and lift up the hood and let's ask basic questions. This isn't adversarial. This is us asking a reputable firm to come in and explain some things to us, or explain why some of the efficiencies they identified, of which there were dozens and dozens, that weren't included in this current budget proposal from the Johnson administration.
So you hear the alderman there saying that there are dozens and dozens of recommendations that Ernst Young made that were not in the final budget proposal, but the mayor reassures the alderman, hey, you've seen everything that we've seen. We've been completely transparent. But how could there be dozens and dozens of recommendations of cost-cutting efficiencies, ways to save money and reduce spending that didn't make it into this final report? I mean, I've been very critical of Brandon Johnson up until this point, but now he's starting to show that maybe there's some unethical, dare I say, even possibly criminal things that might be going on.
Ray and Lourdes, last week a majority of alders came out against Mayor Johnson's plan to revive the corporate head tax. This week, 10 alders want a special meeting to grill independent accountants who audited city finances. Today, opponents of Mayor Johnson's budget proposal set a confrontation for next week. The group filed papers to call an emergency city council meeting for next Monday. The subject, an EY accounting firm audit of the Chicago budget.
Those findings should not be sitting in a shelf. They should be discussed openly, questioned publicly, and considered carefully as part of our budgeting process.
As you know, we're close to $1.2 billion in the hole this year. We are looking for hundreds of millions of dollars that were proposed inefficiencies in this report.
In May, the city gave EY, also known as Ernst Young, a $3.2 million contract to study the budget and find sources of new revenue and ways to find savings. The mayor's proposed budget lays out $80 million in cost reductions, but the alders question why Mayor Johnson did not adopt all of the EY recommendations.
What we've seen is that the administration has only chosen a couple small things out of this document to move forward with, when they have the full opportunity here to take dozens of those efficiencies to create a better situation for taxpayers, and they've refused to do that.
So I want you to think about that for a second. The city paid Ernst Young $3.2 million so they could evaluate the budget of the city and make recommendations for both revenue and expenses. The city's budget is over $16 billion, and the mayor adopted $80 million worth of their recommendations of opportunities to cut spending. 80 million out of 16 billion. And then he's coming to the city with all of these additional taxes and fees and things that are going to run businesses and additional people out of the city of Chicago. But he wants you and he wants the city council, he wants the people in the city of Chicago to believe that he's being above board. And the citizens are not taking this.
If you all just use that bit of common sense, Chicago might be a better city to live in, because you're going to tax the corporate. What they're going to do is they're going to shut their business down, pack up, and move out. So that's more unemployment that's going to go up.
That's just an ordinary citizen, Dennis White, who's a regular attendee to these city hall meetings where they allow public comments. Even he understands that if you continue with these head taxes and raising these additional taxes on businesses, they are going to leave the city. What happens when they leave the city? Unemployment rises. You're going to have blight. You're not going to have that business that's already in the city that's providing that good or that service. It's just going to have this domino effect, all because Brandon Johnson can't bring himself to the point of cutting spending, even when Ernst Young comes forward with recommendations that the city paid $3.2 million to receive.
In this report.
In May, the city of Chicago gave EY, or Ernst Young, a $3.2 million contract to take a hard look at the budget and find ways to save money. The report, released last month, outlined hundreds of millions in potential savings, from streamlining city departments to how the city operates and buys its fleet of vehicles. But these aldermen say few of those ideas made it into the proposed 2026 budget. The alders want to see everything EY found before a budget vote.
Those findings should not be sitting in a shelf.
Taxpayers who are paying for this deserve to see what's behind all portions of this document.
These aldermen filed this letter, signed by 10 others, with the city clerk, calling for a special session where the firm can speak freely about its findings in public, and alders can ask questions about the findings too.
What are the efficiencies that we're leaving out of this budget?
Mayor Johnson's proposed budget relies heavily on one-time borrowing and new taxes to close a projected $1.2 billion hole. But aldermen say before asking taxpayers for more, City Hall should take a hard look at what else they can cut first.
The people we represent are fed up. They want to see real work done down here at City Hall.
And what our taxpayers are asking for is transparency, openness, and honesty by this administration, and it starts with this EY report.
The answer to me is very, very simple. This city council, they cannot pass this budget by this mayor if he is not going to accept the recommendations from the very consulting firm they paid $3 million to make. They're saying that there are hundreds of millions of efficiencies and cuts that could be made. There are dozens and dozens of recommendations this mayor is ignoring because he is an ideologue. He is a tax and spend liberal. He doesn't care if he bankrupts the city of Chicago. I'm almost to the point where I believe that he wants to break the system. Maybe he has something in the back of his mind that if he breaks the system, it can be remade in whatever ideological image that he has in his head. But he is bankrupting this city. Look, I'm going to put up a link right here at the end of this video where you can go and you can binge watch the videos that I've been doing about Brandon Johnson and about the city of Chicago going back almost 2 years at this point. He's been on this trajectory from the very beginning, and there's no sign that he is going to deviate. Chicago, we've got to do something about getting this man out of city council. He is destroying this city. Thanks for hanging out this long. Hit that subscribe button, jump in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about what's going on with this mayor and with the city of Chicago. I'll catch you in the next one.